My Lords, I rise to speak to Amendment 96, which appears on the order paper in my name. My Lords, the need for a referendum is important for two reasons. Firstly, as we all know, no attempt whatsoever was made to consult the electorate before the last election, or through green or white papers, on the proposed redefinition of marriage, which millions see as an essential building block of society. Respect for the electorate demands their explicit consent for this major social change. Secondly, many of us hope that the wider implications of this legislation would be discussed and genuine concerns listened to in the progress of the bill in the other place and in your Lordship's house. Sadly, this has not happened. My Lords, what is concerning about the support for this bill is the narrow crusading zeal with which genuine concerns are either ignored or brushed aside. Many of us, concerned with making ours a fairer society for all, welcomed civil partnerships legislation, which gave both legal rights and dignity to the gay community in our wonderfully diverse society. The legislation recognized both dignity of difference and equality of respect. The Sikh gurus from whom I take my cue taught the importance of recognizing and respecting difference and the right to differ. But they also taught that all of us, men and women, are equal members of one human family. I vainly hope that some of this sort of thinking would become evident in this debate. Sadly, those pushing the bill, perhaps because of a collective guilty conscience over past persecution of homosexuals, looked to only the supposed wishes of the gay community, with no thought for the rights of others. My Lords, three tactics have been used as spoiling measures to stifle genuine debate. Firstly, past persecution of gays has been used to demand unreasonable reparation from the wider community by appropriating, distorting, and diluting the very accepted meaning of marriage, without consideration of the consequences for family relationships and the care and nurture of children. Secondly, we've seen a deliberate misuse of language to suggest sameness and equality, and I mean equality of opportunity and equality of respect. Sameness and equality are one and the same thing, and that to recognize and respect genuine difference amounts to prejudice and notions of superiority. The absurdity of this argument is self-evident. Cricket and football are different sports, but this doesn't mean or imply that one is superior to the other. Yet in seeking to blur difference in gay and heterosexual relationships in Monday's debate, the learned Lord Leicester put forward this same spurious argument. I quote from Hansard: "The attempt to define same-sex marriage differently from opposite-sex marriage, while claiming they are somehow equal, would inevitably be seen by the man in the street and me, a not very ordinary man in the street, I suppose, as attempting to give traditional marriage a superior status. How? My Lords, I believe the man in the street is far more discerning and would resent being wrongly patronized in this way. Statistics, too, as we have heard this evening, have been used to confuse debate. A small survey has been quoted again, the Cambridge survey, which is said to have found that some children do better with gay parents. Perhaps, but why ignore a much larger and more extensive survey of 3,000 people conducted by the University of Texas over a number of years on a random population, which included interviews with children, with the children who had grown to become adults. It showed children who flourish best, measured in categories such as education, employment status, depression, crime, welfare dependency, and drug misuse, are those who spend their entire childhood with their biological mother and father. All other family arrangements did significantly less well. The worst outcomes were in children brought up by their mother in a lesbian relationship. Are we doing our children any favors if we simply refuse to look at such studies? My Lords, following concerns I voiced at committee stage, I was pleasantly surprised to receive a letter from the Government Office. At the bottom of a politely phrased letter was a note that the copy of the letter would be placed in the library. I welcomed this as genuine discussion and wrote a response and sought to place my response in the library. I was told that only the government can do that. So it wasn't genuine debate, but another attempt to promote a narrow government view. My Lords, in summary, the electorate as a whole have been treated with contempt, not only because of an absence of consultation prior to the last election, but also a continuing reluctance to consult on the merits of the issue after the government took office. Worse, the very meaning of the word consult has been redefined to limit it to discussion on an already agreed course of action. The expressed concerns of religious communities have also been almost totally ignored. One of the supposed safeguarding locks is in fact an open opt-out door, an open invitation to opt out of clearly defined religious practice in a way that can only promote division and dissent. My Lords, it's beyond doubt that the implications of this major social change have not been properly considered, either in this House or in the country. The government should withdraw the bill for proper consultation with the electorate and affected bodies. If not, it should have the courage to allow the electorate to have a say on the merits of the legislation in a referendum on the lines suggested in this amendment. The man or woman in the street should be allowed to give their views on a measure that affects all of society. I beg to move.